Well, thank you guys so much for being here tonight, and thank you for being flexible. I know that this has had a couple reschedules for things out of everyone's control. So just a quick introduction for those of you that I haven't met. I'm Andrew. I'm the president-elect of the NFIA. So this was put together tonight as kind of a combination between the NFIA and an idea that was thought of from John Medeiros, to just make sure that there were no questions about what the upcoming Benoit Square project is going to be. For those of you that might not know, this was already voted on and approved by the select board, but Vinny and Josh are here tonight to answer any questions that you guys may have, as well as answer any things that might be overhanging with the project that maybe was missed in the process. Just one thing I want to remind everyone tonight is that while this is considered a temporary fix, this has already been approved by the select board, and this is what is going forward. But that doesn't mean that there can't be improvements made in the future. So with that being said, I'm gonna pass it over to Vinny to get it started. And can you hear him fine? Yeah, all right.
There should be no problem in that. So, hi everybody. First off, I want to apologize for the delay in coming here. We had scheduled with John to come on September 28th, and unfortunately, I got called to go to the select board meeting on that night, a joint meeting with the select board and finance committee. We have town meeting coming up on the 14th, and the precipitating factor is articles that the Board of Public Works has. So knowing that you folks meet on Thursday, we offer it up, hey, we'll come some other Thursday. We just never get the confirmation of the some other Thursday. So it was assumed that we were gonna be here last week, and we never had heard anything. So anyway, I hate folks to have to gather twice to do something that we could have done once. So anyway, sorry about that, but we're here now. And as Andrew mentioned, I want to make it crystal clear from the beginning that this project that is in the state layout was already approved by the select board back on one date in July, the date escapes me right now. But there was a public hearing, representatives from the state were there, and the select board voted accordingly. So whatever you want to bring forward, we'll carry it forward the best we can, but it's not like if you had a question or a concern of a street that Josh and I are directly responsible for, hey, I got a pothole here, hey, this, we could fix it. Whereas this is a little convoluted, again, because it belongs to the state. So that being clear, Josh has he actually brought the project, and he's going to, explain it to folks. We brought a number of copies. If you don't know, Josh is the highway superintendent. He started October 17th of last year, so he's been with us almost a year. He hasn't left yet, so that's good. Not yet. We'll see how tonight goes. But he took the place of John Charbonneau. John was the highway superintendent for 20 some odd years, and Josh has done a great role in filling those responsibilities.
Awesome. Cool. Whenever you're ready.
Oh, it's my turn.
It's your turn.
Oh, great. So I just handed out, I don't know, like half listened, sorry. This was presented to the public at a select board meeting recently. This is an aerial sketch that was developed by Mass DOT. It shows what their intentions are for the layout with Benoit Square. The state officials exhausted a lot of time and effort in evaluating the immediate needs out here, and they were able to conclude that just some organizing the chaos that is in this intersection. It's just not clear who has the right of way as you're heading up Adams Street towards Acushnet, and vice versa with going up Main Street, defining who has the right of way. With that said, the state did do traffic study analysis, and they were able to determine with that, along with some state highway layout plans, that Main Street should be the primary route of access. So with that, they had presented to us, trying to reorganize Adams Street and kind of control that into a more traditional intersection. So what we're gonna be doing here, is people coming from Adams Street, from the signals at Howland, you're basically gonna be kind of veering to the left to tee up into the Main Street intersection. We're going to, the state will be, removing existing pavement markings and updating the pavement markings to kind of show this new movement. And in conjunction with that, they're gonna be putting up these flexible posts, these flexible bollards, which are very similar to those that you see on Sconneck Road in the vicinity of David Drum Boulevard in the middle. Those are those yellow posts that are there, but we're gonna have those on the right-hand side in front of the old, I think that was the school right there, if I'm not mistaken.
And they used to have those bollards on the New Bedford-Faven Bridge, too, a long time ago. Or
So-
relatively.
Yeah, so that's kind of, they're gonna control and show this new geometry with a combination of pavement markings and these flexible posts, and see how it operates. They did the traffic analysis studies with all the latest and greatest software that's available, and on the computer and the programs, it works great, it functions. They are not expecting any vehicles to back up into the signalized intersection of Howland Road. It didn't warrant that in the analysis they did. So we're pretty confident that that will not be the case, since we're gonna be doing stop control on Adams Street, we're putting in a stop sign.
Can you get the door?
The other factor here is, in front of the old schoolhouse, you see the crosshatches, in this picture. We're gonna be losing a couple of parking spaces. And I know parking is kind of a prudent factor out here, but there is public parking available behind the Oxford residence, which I've just received an order of some public parking signs, so we're gonna be able to add some new signage out here to kind of promote that public access.
Very good.
Yeah, they finally came in, a year later. But, we might be losing a couple. Technically, 2 of those parking spots are by rights illegal. You're not supposed to be parking that close to a crosswalk, so there's good justification to get rid of a couple of them there, and, we're gonna see how this works. It's not a permanent solution. This is meant to be a short-term pilot study. I don't know the duration of this. It's kind of in the state's jurisdiction. We're gonna implement it. They may do some additional traffic analysis. They may do camera observations. And we're gonna see how this thing functions. If it functions well, you may see in a couple of years, maybe even a year, it depends, some more permanent fixtures. They may revise this even further and increase the sidewalk widths, maybe create some green space and introduce granite curbing and really define this intersection, as they see fit. But the first step is to deploy these improvements and see how it functions. Quite frankly, that's what we're here to do. And I reached out to the contact at Mass DOT. He unfortunately just recently retired. So I'm chasing down the answer as to when these improvements will take place. Luckily, most of this is not terribly weather dependent, so we could see this go in sometime in November. If all goes well, we definitely will see them sooner than later. But as soon as I have an answer, I will share with Andrew and John, and they can update you guys accordingly. But that's the long and short of it. I'm open to any questions and
Yeah.
whatever.
Just really quick, just one thing.
Mhm.
When you pull out of when you're pulling out of the Oxford school parking lot,
Yep.
is this gonna be a one-way, you have to turn right, or is there still?
That will essentially be more of like a traditional driveway access where it would be one way in, one way out.
Okay.
Yeah, so you would have to pull out and you would almost be like crossing. If you wanna go left on the Howland, you would, instead of coming out of the Oxford school and then going taking the left on the main street, you kind of pull a U-turn to get back onto Adams Street.
Gotcha.
It's a little tricky because there's a lot of geometry that's really close together. It's pretty compact, but, you know, you would kind of just treat that as a traditional driveway.
Awesome. All right, so just for anyone that wants to ask a question, just because we're limited on microphones, if you could please, when you have a question, raise your hand first when we call on you. If you could just stand, state your first and last name, and then just try to speak as loudly as possible so that way we can hear you and the Fairhaven TV can hear you as well. So does anyone have any questions at this time? Yes.
Over a trip, I was at the office school, and I'm just wondering, usually I park in this parking lot. Are you saying that when we come out, we'll have to turn left, right?
No, you'll, if you wanted to go right towards the Cushionet, you would immediately leave your driveway and you'd be, coming up on a stop sign. And then you would have to look both ways and proceed, you know, left or right as you see fit. Or if you wanted to take a left to go towards Howland Road, you just have to look at oncoming traffic on Adams Street.
Right here.
Yep.
She can pull out and go this way.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
It's Robert Manch, and you're not sure when the state is gonna start, but regardless of when they start, did you give any indication of how long they'll run the trial experiment?
They haven't, conservatively, it's gonna be at least a year. There's a lot of moving parts in Fairhaven. I mean, as you guys mostly probably know, that the bridge is gonna be getting replaced, so we're gonna be seeing some real long-term traffic management stuff, so this is gonna be inclusive of that, so it might be, it really depends. If this thing's failing miserably, then we'll probably request and demand that it gets removed and revised immediately. It seems to be successful, we're gonna keep going until they have a more permanent plan in place.
But, you know, just so I'll interject, you know, we need to follow up with the state a little bit in anticipation for this meeting. Josh reached out to Bob Travers, is the person who actually did the presentation at the select board. So we reached out a couple of times and we never got a response. So, which was very odd because the guy is typically, you know, some people you send an email to, you never get anything back till you keep prodding. But he's very responsive. So he reached out and we found out the guy that had presented this and been the lead contact at the select board in July, retired. So now we have to find who the next person is, or else we'd have a little bit more with the start date and all that, but,
And where,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, is that person with Serpent or like physically?
With Mass DOT, with the
In
state.
Boston?
Well,
This
there's
is
a
the-
local district in Taunton,
Okay.
right off.
So
of-
this is the District 5 office that's overseeing this, the Boston office headquarters. They supplemented here and provided the traffic analysis component. So it, cohesively, they are involved in Serpent, as you mentioned, they have been notified of this project. I plan on presenting this to them at one of the forthcoming meetings. And just to piggyback one quick thing, when this does happen, it's not a long drawn out process. You're gonna see these changes pretty much overnight. It will happen quick. I mean, you maybe 2 days and it's done. And if they really wanna get aggressive, they could do it all in one night. And then you wake up on your morning commute and it's all changed.
And so our contact would be in Boston.
Yes. I mean, you can funnel your questions through BPW and then, you know, we can reach out to them as well.
More questions?
I have one question. What brought the change in making that development here? For the accidents or something, or just that you found it something better to do?
Of course, and just your first and last name, I'm sorry.
First name is Carl Weatherspoon. I live in the Oxford residence over here.
So,
Vinny, I don't know what brought about this project.
Well, there were meetings, I think it was concerns from the town itself. I know there were meetings with Pam Hasner, who used to be the District 5 section chief, Paul Foley, who was the town planner. There were meetings here, the police and fire chief. So it was precipitated by the town. And the town administrator met with them a couple of times, so I don't know if it was John keep banging the gavel there and making folks aware, but They're the ones who, they got involved.
Okay, okay.
But I believe it was precipitated by the town initially.
It was.
So Wayne Hayward, so yes, the Fagan Planning Board and the town did initiate a study on this area. This wasn't what we were looking for.
Say that again?
Was or wasn't? Was not. This is not what we were looking for. This is a, kind of a stopgap, you know, you see this out in Sconner Connect Road. This building is now a beautiful building on the National Historic Register. This is not an appropriate treatment for the front. This is not multimodal. It doesn't deal with foot traffic, bicycle traffic. I'm a little afraid of the area inside the flex post. When you get 2 feet of snow in there and you can't get it out, it's just gonna continually melt on Adam and Main Street. My question would be, is this eligible for chapter 90 funding?
Well, it's not, I mean, it would be,
Not this, but I mean, to me, this is a real stopgap thing you do as a trial. if you-
No, I mean, this is not the end all be all. This is the first step.
So if the town wanted to move forward, though, we could use chapter 90 money for that, couldn't we?
you can't use it in the state layout per se, because they technically own the roads, but
Well, we used it on Howland Road, that was chapter 90, right?
So this is a state-owned public way.
since I've been here, Wayne, we didn't use chapter 90 money on Howland Road, but when I started here, the state had a project. Actually, were just completing a project, was a little bit convoluted on Howland Road. So the state did that, but we didn't use chapter 90 money for it.
Remember the funding going through Serpent for Howland Road, and it was part of chapter 90, I thought, so.
You may be right, that was
So
BV,
who would fund?
Before Vinnie.
Solution?
The state and federal government.
So we're gonna wait for the state to do it. And we're not really talking about a lot of money here to make a permanent solution. It's not like you're
It
repaving an
depends.
entire Main Street or something. This would just, you know, have some granite curbing, some landscaping. I can't imagine, you know. I think the residents are gonna be unhappy when they see this built. That's my hunch. And most of the people that I talk to in this neighborhood really don't think we have a traffic problem now. They all seem to have learned how to navigate this. But that was part of the concern, but we also wanted to make it more, the goal behind what we were doing on the planning board was to make it foot traffic available, so that we could get our new customers over here to our new businesses over there. That was the goal, is to get that back and forth. So you might accomplish some of that here temporarily with the cones or with the flex post, but, and those flex posts, they don't last that long. If you look at the ones out in Sconner Connect, they're already, whether we need a grant just to replace the flex posts. So if we can't use chapter 90, the town's not prohibited from spending money on something like this. Say it cost $150,000, I mean, the town would not be prohibited from spending the money, correct?
To do work in their roadway, we would likely have to go through their review process.
But you'd be building this without the flex post.
Well, I think, yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you that this is not the right fix, but it's a step in the right direction. I think the most critical part here with any kind of substantial change like this is getting the daily users comfortable to a new alignment. Any kind of major geometric changes like this, in my experience, you need to have a soft opening, essentially. So I think if we do this and it's successful, hopefully very early, then we can really start pressuring the state and our representatives to, hey, this is great, this is working, what's next? We need to get going. Do we need to hire our own engineers with your support? You know, I think we have to get over this initial hump, unfortunately. And originally, they wanted to do this with just pavement markings. And we pushed for these flex posts just to really define it, because our fear was as soon as you just put this paint down, people are gonna neglect it and just go through like they used to. So we're really trying to force the intention here. And if this does work, you know, we're hoping to really revitalize and improve all of Benoit Square with multimodal accommodations. I mean, right now, the crosswalk you have here is I think 70 or 80 feet across. Just by taking this approach right now, we're technically removing more than half of that, and you only have about a 25 to 30 foot crosswalk. Granted, it's in a flex post, but we're removing the conflict and shortening the distance for these
I
users.
absolutely agree with that. I would caution you though, I've been doing this for a long time and, to wait for the state to do anything, we were talking to the state about the bridge my entire life. They were talking about the T my entire life. So don't think they're coming next year to start doing a major improvement on this. If you enjoy this, you're gonna get this for supper every night. This is not a permanent solution in my eyes. This is not in keeping with the neighborhood, the historic architecture. Not a bad way to test things out, but just think if you don't start thinking now about the next step won't happen.
Yeah, of course, I completely agree. Thank you.
Jessica Falvo, I just kind of piggyback on that, I would ask, like, for you guys, is there something that as residents we can do to help support pushing the state in making sure that this doesn't end up being forever? Like, is writing letters or calling emails being obnoxious? Like, is
Well,
there a
that-
way to be helpful on
Right.
this end?
I mean, honestly, it would be up to us, you folks, get Representative Strauss involved, and, he's been very good to us, moving other state projects along, and that would be, even though an email campaign or things like that, his voice would carry more weight than ours, truly. And again, like Josh mentioned, this is something that's gonna happen, relatively speaking, overnight because it's a short fix, but again, there was a public hearing at the select board. I don't remember the date, but there was. And the only person there, because Josh and I were there, was John. I don't remember anybody else. I'm pretty good with remembering things, part of the gig. And, that would have been the time to speak up a little bit more then, because there were Bill Travers and another fellow, I don't remember, but they voted on this. So we're gonna move forward with this, temporary, and then it's gonna be better than now, but I don't disagree, this should be the final, the final resolution.
One more question, who would you recommend people call to complain, you or the board of selectmen? Because they will be.
I mean, listen, it's very rare that we get a compliment when a phone call rings, so, so.
Well, I mean, you can call us, but I think our
And your cell number?
I think our administrative staff would probably redirect you if you disclose what you're calling about to call the District 5 office in Taunton. They would be the one to receive the calls. We're happy to take them, but you might get not the ring around, but hey, this is what we presented, this is state jurisdiction, we need to go through them. But I know another thing we might be able to look into is potentially, complete streets funding down the road, if the state will allow us to, use some of that money after, later on, but
It is a town street too. I mean,
It's state
you clean
layout.
the catch basins, but your catch basin dry.
not in my tenure.
Well, who cleans the catch basins on Adams Street? The state?
State.
The state plows, the state cleans the catch basins?
Yep.
Hmm.
My predecessor was very good about
Oh, very good.
telling me and defining and outlining
What's
where
ours.
the jurisdictional limits are. And I can guarantee you, unless my guys are disobeying orders, they're not doing anything in the state layout. If there's a pothole or a framing, a catch basin cover that's a safety hazard, yeah, we'll help our neighbor out, we'll help the state out.
The street lights are ours, the speed limit signs are ours, right?
Nope.
What's the speed limit on Adams? It's not 25?
I don't know what it might be posted at 30 or 35, I don't recall.
25.
Is it posted at 25?
Oh, if it's 25, it's probably not posted.
Right.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, this layout, I think people will get used to it real quick. I live off of Spring Street, and Spring Street, they redesigned this where it comes to Route 6.
Mhm.
And I don't see any problem with it. And I think it seems like where two streets come together, at a, whatever you wanna call it, like a V or whatever, it seems like they're doing this. I know Mattapoisett they going, and I think it's safer because if you're driving, like if you're on Adams Street now driving to Acushnet, you kinda have to look over your shoulders to see if a car's coming, where if you make that little turn, you can see it. So I think safety-wise, I think it's safer.
Absolutely.
A lot of people might not like it and have. you see what
Change is
happens.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, but I think safety-wise, it's.
It's a step in the right direction, I think. You know, it's a stepping stone.
Question?
Yes. John Durst, President.
Oh, and Ed Rose.
I know that the state's gonna take care of Benoit Square, but there's a lot more issues to get to Benoit Square and leave Benoit Square that belong to the town, and it's town issues, and it's town streets.
Mhm.
Are you gonna listen to what people have to say about that? In other words, I know that there's some crosswalks that need some help. If you ever try to get across, off Howland Road near Sycamore Street with that, the LMS concrete truck coming at you,
Mhm.
you're gonna think twice about crossing. And there's other ones the same way, there's crosswalks that are not safe to cross.
Mhm.
Some of them don't even have signs to cross.
No, like I said at the beginning, John, anything that we can do to help, I mean, depending on the cost, depending on, you know, an engineering study, whatever's required, I mean, if it's in our layout that we're responsible for, we're gonna try. I mean, we'll try to make it better, certainly.
Okay.
Did we?
Well, for a trip again, it's impossible to get across the street to go to those little shops. You cannot do it, because you have to have eyes in the back of your head, on top of your head. It's impossible to cross that street without getting run over, because they speed up and down with those trucks. And, I mean, it's not very, how do you get to those shops to spend your money?
Not safely right now.
No.
Excuse me, I'll interrupt you.
No.
Okay. On the crosswalks, and especially in front of the theater, the people park right on, the bumper is almost on the crosswalk itself.
Mhm.
So you have to get into the street in the crosswalk to stick your nose out there to cross the street.
Right.
Now, isn't there a way to design it so the car is probably 5 feet back?
Oh, of course.
So that there's,
Yeah.
we have a chance to see the person.
Well, it
Yeah.
looks like that's what's happening. That's what the proposed plan is on the school side.
But on
But
the other side,
on the
yeah, I
other
mean, of course there are measures. There is, I believe it's general law or it's just Mass DOT policy, that your vehicles are not supposed to be parked within 10 feet of a crosswalk, 20 feet within an intersection. But then that becomes a police enforcement issue. And statutory signage that would prohibit that. So that would be, you know, there's merit and there's cause for it, but that would be a police issue and a select board thing that would, you know, that's a big to do and a
But
big
if
burden.
if that was a state crosswalk, you'd have to deal with the state. If
They
it
would
was a
still,
town-
they would have to come to the select board and propose that, hey, we
Because
need,
obviously we have from here, Oxford School, all the way to the Cushing Town line, that's state.
Mhm.
And we probably got 2 or 3 crosswalks there, and they're designed all different kinds of ways. Some have no signage,
yep.
and they're just, I think there should be another one near St. Mary's Church too.
Yeah, there's some interesting information out there on sign saturation, especially with crossings in urban environments, if you will. I don't consider Fairhaven urban, but when you get a lot of intersections close together, almost in a grid format, it's not improbable to have less crosswalk signs. You have them at the beginning and ends, but the ones in the middles, sometimes you don't have that. And then there's conflicting information out there, but then it can get misconstrued by the users. But there are improvements we can push the state for and request, of course.
Barry Parker, on this crosswalk, do they have any plans to do the lights where they can push a button to activate lights? Because the confusion with the new layout, people are gonna be looking at the corners and the posts and not looking at the crosswalk for people. going
That is
across.
true.
If they have those lights like we put up on Alden Road or something like that, that they can activate, maybe they'll see them and be more aware of that crosswalk.
Yeah, it's not a bad suggestion. We can certainly propose that. My only hesitation, it would be no problem on the business
That
side,
20-foot section that you're looking
Yeah.
at, this,
but I'd be worried, how long will it last if I put it in that painted area? If you have a road, you know, I think, yeah. And I would suggest the state, when they do this, putting out some temporary, you know, message boards saying new traffic pattern. I
it's
think
gonna
that would be,
confusing to some people, and they're gonna be looking around and not looking at people
Yeah.
going across, that's my concern.
yep.
Could you, Robert Comanche, I think there's some uncertainty on my part, actually. Maybe you could delineate on one of these maps. How far each, the state part of these, the Adams and Maine, how far, where does this Adams end, where does the state part end, and where does the town,
Yeah, I mean, more, plus or minus, I can give you a ballpark right now, on this sketch. If you see the road, you see Main Street, you got the two red arrows that are kind of on top of the cars. That is more or less the state highway layout line. So the town owns, we oversee stuff to the right of that on Main Street heading back towards Route 6. But then everything to the left of those two directional arrows, that's all state, and the same can be said for everything on Adams Street going back towards Route 6.
And as you go further north on the state part, where they join, which becomes Main Street,
Yep.
and down Main Street toward the
Ev-
north.
everything
that's
towards-
state.
So more or less when you get to the peak of the Benoit Square Island here, once you reach it, everything is all state highway layout. And just that small piece of Main Street getting up to Benoit Square, that to Howland Road is town. So we own a very little portion right here.
Okay, so, the rest of the main, go on past, up to St. Mary's, that's all state.
Correct.
Yes.
I believe the state layout on Main Street stops at 195. So you get to 195.
Oh, is it all the way down there?
Yeah, Adams is to Route 6. I think the Main Street is from 195.
Oxford Pub is on Main Street, Fairhaven, the town, not the state road. Barber Shop is on Main Street, town. It's in front of Dean Street, at the end, the top of Dean Street is state.
Do we have any more questions? Going once? Going twice? Anyone?
Just like to remind everybody that if you look at page 2, where it says the cons, the state was unhappy they had to provide flex posts. They just wanted to provide paint on the ground.
I think the cons is more, the negatives of the project, not that they didn't support it. That's not the notion that we got.
Increased cost.
Yeah, which, we were all in the business of stretching the dollar, of course. But
They're
safety is
spending- they're spending a
paramount.
whole dollar here.
Mhm.
Yes.
Kyle Witherspoon, I live at the Oxford residence. How's the state and the town getting along on doing this?
Good, we've been very cordial. We've met with the state and Representative Strauss, the former town planner, and the town administrator's been involved, and, they were ready to move forward with this back in the spring, but I pumped the brakes because I wanted more detail. They did a whole thorough traffic analysis for us at my request. They were happy to do it, and they've been great to deal with.
I was wondering because it seems like you're only like 5 feet apart, that this is owned by the state, this is owned by the town, you know, it seems kind of confusing a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we could definitively find the state layout, of course. I just, off the top of my head, I'm not gonna lie, I'm still getting familiar with the town. It's been a year, but I still don't know every nook and
Yeah.
cranny.
All right, well, if there are no more questions, I just want to take this time really quick to remind, for those of you that were here last week, we touched on it briefly, but for those of you that weren't, to kind of go off of one of the questions that somebody asked earlier, the North Fairhaven Improvement Association does plan on forming an official subcommittee that will be geared towards projects outside of the Benoit Square, but also continuing to focus on the Benoit Square and, you know, helping get the information to North Fairhaven sooner than once decisions have already been made, but also if there are recommendations that people have that maybe we haven't thought of, that you would like to see pushed forward, helping you go through those necessary channels, and, you know,
Andrew,
through us.
if I may, you know, Josh is gonna kill me for this, but, you know, you guys form a subcommittee, whomever the members are, and if you wanted to meet, like, with us, you know, once every 3 months or something like that.
Yeah, he sounds like he's signing.
No, but at least this way.
Josh called me on his cell phone today.
You know, but this way is, you know, is being proactive and, you know, we don't have to meet
Yeah.
with you every single time that the subcommittee
Yeah,
meets.
when necessary,
But yeah, I mean, a
So-
handful of times, whatever, just
So,
because we want to carry your message forward too.
yeah. So just so everyone knows, our first public meeting for non-NFIA members, if you would like to come and give your feedback, is going to be here again on November 2nd, same time, 6 p.m. But with that being said, I know there's a portion of you here that are not NFIA members. We meet every Thursday, every third Thursday of the month at 6:30 here, and we're always looking for new members, and you can join our subcommittee officially if you're interested. So that's really all we have. If call for questions? No? All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here. And I don't have a gavel, but yeah, good night.